Welcome to RSET Online. I am Lakshmi KS from Radhagiri School of Engineering and Technology. In this lecture, we will discuss Module 3 of Machine Learning. The contents of this lecture include evaluation of classifiers, cross-validation, resampling methods, k-fold cross-validation, bootstrapping, measuring classifier performance. As we have discussed in the previous lectures, there are several classification algorithms in machine learning. For a given problem, more than one classification algorithm may be applicable. So, there is a need to examine how a particular classification algorithm performs for a particular problem. So, we need a method to compare the performance of two or more different classification algorithms. And these methods help us choose the right algorithm in a practical situation. And when we apply a classification algorithm in a practical situation, we always do a validation test. That means we keep a small sample of examples for testing and the remaining set is used for training. And the classifier developed using the training set is applied to the examples in the validation set. And based on the performance on the test set, the accuracy of the classifier is assessed. So data sets in machine learning are usually split into distinct sets for training and testing. Training set is used to fit and calibrate the model parameters, whereas test set is used to measure the predictive performance on unseen data. The error in the case of training and testing may vary, and the rule of thumb is used to 80% for training and 20% for testing. Sometimes people may use 90% for training and 10% for testing. Training error results from applying the model to the training data, whereas test error is the average error when predicting on unseen observations. So other terms that are used for training and testing are in-sample and out-of-sample. In-sample refers to training process and out-of-sample performance is the test error. Another method for evaluating classifier performance is to use a validation set in addition to training set and test set. So using the training data set, we need to fit the model of different complexity, and model selection is done based on the performance on unseen data from the validation set, and predictive performance can be measured based on the test set. Rule of thumb is to use 60% for training, 20% of data set for validation and 20% for testing. If the data set is of very limited size, then resampling method is used. The idea in resampling is to repeatedly draw subsamples from the given data set and then use these splits in order to fit and assess the model. And mainly there are two methods for this. One is cross-validation and the other one is bootstrapping. And we will discuss about these cross-validation and bootstrapping methods in detail in the following slides. Motivation for resampling. As I said, if the data size is of limited size, then it will be difficult for evaluating the performance of the classifier. So sometimes performance is subject to random split. That means we will divide the entire data set into different samples. If splitting is repeated randomly, there may be a high variability across the results, especially relevant for time-dependent or ordered data. So resampling is applicable or relevant for time-dependent or ordered data. Making splits random can be of importance here, and model performance is often inferior if less data is used. Now we will see what is cross-validation. The definition for validation is The process of deciding whether the numerical results quantifying hypothesized relationships between variables are acceptable as descriptions of the data. So, if the sample is large enough, we can randomly divide it, then divide each part randomly into two and use one half for training and the other half for validation. Unfortunately, datasets are never large enough to do this. So, we use the same data split differently, and that process is called cross-validation. And the definition for cross-validation is the technique to evaluate the predictive models by partitioning the original sample into a training set to train the model and a test set to evaluate it. And there are different varieties of cross-validation. One is Holt method, other is k-fold cross-validation. Holt method is the simplest kind of cross-validation. The dataset is separated into two sets called training set and testing set. Usually, we perform training on 50% of given dataset and the rest 50% is used for testing purpose. The major drawback of this method is that we perform training on 50% of dataset. So it may be possible that the remaining 50% of the data contains some important information which we are leaving while training our model. Next one is k-fold cross-validation. In k-fold cross-validation, the data is divided into k subsets. Now, the holdout method is repeated k times such that each time one of the k subsets is used as the validation set and the other k-1 subsets are put together to form the training set. And the error estimation is averaged over all the k trials to get the total effectiveness of the model. And this method significantly reduces the bias because we are using most of the data for fitting, and also it reduces the variance since most of the data is also being used in the validation set. And there are two problems with this approach. First, to keep the training set large, we allow validation sets that are small. And second thing is that the training sets overlap considerably. Any two training sets share k-2 parts. So these are the problems or limitations of this approach. And usually k is taken as 10 or 30. As k increases, the percentage of instances increases and we get more robust estimators, but the validation set becomes smaller. And also there is the cost of training the classifier k times, which increases as k is increased. This figure shows how five-fold cross-validation is done. You can see that the original data set is divided into 6 samples, and out of the 6 samples, one sample is permanently fixed for testing and the other 5 samples are repeatedly chosen for validation purpose. So in the first iteration, the first sample is used for validation, and in the second iteration, the second sample is used for validation, and in the third sample is used for validation, and so on. And the total error is estimated as the average error of all these 5 epochs. Next is leave one out cross validation. This method is used when the data set is very small, and it is a special case of cross validation. Each fold of the cross validation has only a single test example and all the rest of the data is used in training. And if the original data has got m examples, this is m-fold cross validation. So it can be considered an extreme case of k-fold cross validation. And it is typically used in applications such as medical diagnosis where labeled data is hard to find. In statistics, the term bootstrap sampling or bootstrap or bootstrapping in short refers to the process of random sampling with replacement. When a sampling unit is drawn from a finite population and is returned to that population after its characteristics have been recorded before the next unit is drawn, then the sampling is said to be sampling with replacement. For example, let us consider there are 5 balls labeled A, B, C, D and E in an urn, and we wish to select different samples of balls from the urn, each sample containing 2 balls. So first we select 2 balls from the basket. Let them be A and E. We will record the labels and put the 2 balls back in the basket. Then we select the next 2 balls from the basket. Let them be C and E. Then again we record the labels and put the 2 balls back into the basket. And this is repeated as often as required. So we get different samples of size 2 like AB, AE, BE, CE, etc. So these samples are obtained by sampling with replacement. That technique is known as bootstrapping. Next we will see how errors are measured in classifier. Suppose a classifier is given a classification task of identifying blue objects from a set of objects. So there are 4 possibilities. Suppose a particular sample is given and that sample object is of blue color, and imagine that the classifier labels it as blue. Therefore, the actual object is blue and the predicted value is also blue. It can be considered as a true positive case. Here the positive case is blue. So the classifier gives the class label as blue itself. Therefore, it can be considered as true positive. Suppose the color of the object is not blue, but the classifier label it as blue. So that can be considered as a false positive case. And there is another possibility that the color of the object is blue, but the classifier label it as not blue. Then it is a false negative case. And if the actual color of the object is not blue and the classifier also predicted that it is not blue, then it is a true negative case. So there are 4 possibilities: true positive, false negative and true negative. So true positive means the classifier is predicting the true value of the classifier. Similarly, true negative means the classifier correctly identifies the object label as negative. That is known as true negative. Then false positive means the classifier is incorrectly labeling the object as a positive case, but it will be it will not be a positive case. And the last one is false negative, in that the actual object is positive, or the actual object is having the positive label, but the classifier incorrectly predict it as negative label. So that is known as false negative. A confusion matrix is used to describe the performance of a classification model on a set of test data for which the true values are known. It's a table that categorizes predictions according to whether they match the actual value. For a 2-class data set, a confusion matrix is a table with 2 rows and 2 columns that reports the number of false positives, false negatives, true positives and true negatives. So the representation is shown here. The predicted class labels as well as actual class labels. Then the true positive values will be in the top left corner and false negatives in the top right corner, false positives in the bottom left corner and true negative values in the bottom right corner. An example is shown here. Here the classification task is to label whether a given animal is cat or not. So here there are 50 true positive cases, 35 false negative cases, 40 false positive cases and 10 true negative cases. Once the true positive, true negative, false positive and false negative cases are decided, then we can find the accuracy or classification rate of the classifier. And the accuracy is given by the equation true positive plus true negative divided by true positive plus true negative plus false positive plus false negative cases. So the denominator denotes the total number of instances in the training set. And recall is the ratio of total number of correctly classified positive examples to the total number of positive examples. So high recall indicates the class is correctly recognized, and it is given by the equation TP by TP plus Fn. Precision is another parameter that is used for measuring the classifier performance. Precision is the ratio of total number of correctly classified positive examples to the total number of predicted positive examples. Equation is TP by TP plus FP, where TP is the true positive case and FP is the false positive case. And if the recall value is high and the precision is low, it means that most of the positive examples are correctly recognized, but there are a lot of false positive cases in the given sample. And if the recall value is low and the precision is high, it shows that we miss a lot of positive examples, but those we predicted as positive are indeed positive. Now we will discuss a problem of calculating the precision and recall of a classifier. Suppose a computer program for recognizing dogs in photographs identifies 8 dogs in a picture containing 12 dogs and some cats. Of the 8 dogs identified, 5 actually are dogs while the rest are cats. So compute the precision and recall of the computer program. So here we can see that out of the 8 dogs which were identified as positive cases, 5 were actually positive. Therefore, true positive cases are 5 and false positive cases are 3. So, out of the 12 dogs, 5 were identified. Therefore, false negative cases are 7. Then precision can be computed using the equation true positive divided by true positive plus false positive. That is 5 divided by 5 plus 3, that's equal to 5 by 8. That will give the precision. Similarly, recall can be computed using the equation T by TP plus Fn. That is equal to 5 divided by 5 plus 7. That's equal to 5 by 12. Next problem. Let there be 10 balls, 6 white and 4 red balls in a box, and let it be required to pick up the red balls from them. Suppose we pick up 7 balls as the red balls, of which only 2 are actually red balls. What are the values of precision and recall in picking red ball? So from the question, it is clear that the true positive value is 2, because out of the 7 balls only 2 are actually red balls. Therefore, true positive cases is 2. And false positive is equal to 7 minus 2, that is 5. And false negative 4 minus 2, that's also 2. So we got the values for true positive, false positive and false negative. Then we can substitute in the equations for precision and recall. And the value of precision is 2 by 7 and recall is 1 by 2. Using the data in the confusion matrix of a classifier of 2-class dataset, several measures of performance have been defined. Some of them are accuracy, error rate, sensitivity, specificity and F measure. Accuracy is calculated as TP plus Tn divided by TP plus Tn plus FP plus Fn, where TP is the true positive case, Tn true negative, FP false positive and Fn false negative. Error rate is computed as 1 minus accuracy. Sensitivity is another measure which is calculated as TP divided by TP plus Fn, which is same as recall. Then specificity, that's equal to Tn by Tn plus Fp, and F measure is computed as twice Tp divided by twice Tp plus Fp plus Fn. Another performance measuring parameter is ROC. ROC stands for Receiver Operating Characteristic Curve. ROC curve was first developed by electrical engineers and radar engineers during Second World War for detecting enemy objects in the battlefields, and they are now increasingly used in machine learning and data mining researches. Two terminologies are used for the construction of ROC curve, that is TPR and FPR. TPR stands for true positive rate and FPR for false positive rate. TPR is calculated as TP divided by TP plus Fn, that is the fraction of positive examples correctly classified, that's equal to sensitivity. Then false positive rate is computed as Fp divided by Fp plus Tn, that is the fraction of negative examples incorrectly classified. So it can be considered as 1 minus specificity. Based upon these two values, we can plot the ROC curve. We plot the values of FPR, that is false positive rate, along the horizontal axis, that is the x-axis, and the values of TPR, true positive rate, along the vertical axis, that is the y-axis in a two-dimensional plane. For each classifier, there is a unique point in this plane with coordinates FPR and TPR. ROC space is the part of the plane whose points correspond to FPR and TPR. Each prediction result or instance of a confusion matrix represents one point in the ROC space. The position of the point in the ROC space gives an indication of the performance of the classifier. And there are some special points in this ROC space. First one is the left bottom corner point corresponding to 0, 0. It shows always negative prediction. That is, a classifier which produces this point in the ROC space never classifies an example as positive, neither rightly nor wrongly, because for this point TP is equal to 0 and FP is equal to 0. It always makes negative predictions. All positive instances are wrongly predicted and all negative instances are correctly predicted. It commits no false positive errors. The second point is the right top corner point, that is 1, 1. It shows always positive prediction. A classifier which produces this point in the ROC space always classifies an example as positive, because for this point false negative is equal to 0 and true negative is also equal to 0. All positive instances are correctly predicted and all negative instances are wrongly predicted. It commits no false negative errors. The third point is the left top corner point, that is 0. It shows the perfect prediction. A classifier which produces this point in the ROC space may be considered as a perfect classifier. It produces no false positives and no false negatives. And the fourth point is along the diagonal. It shows random performance. So consider a classifier where the class labels are randomly guessed. Then the corresponding points in the ROC space will be lying very near the diagonal line. joining the points 0, 0 and 1, 1. In the case of certain classification algorithms, the classifier may depend on a parameter. Different values of the parameter will give different classifiers, and these in turn give different values to TPR and FPR, that is true positive rate and false positive rate. ROC curve is the curve obtained by plotting in the ROC space the points TPR and FPR obtained by assigning all possible values to the parameter in the classifier. The closer the ROC curve is to the top left corner, that is 0, 1 of the ROC space, better the accuracy of the classifier. So in the given figure, there are three classifiers A, B and C. So among the three classifiers A, B, C with ROC curves shown in the figure, the classifier C is the closest to the top left corner of the ROC space. Hence, among the three, it gives the best accuracy in prediction. By this, we have come to the end of part 1 of module 3. Thank you.